Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the JRE Review. Joined as always by my partner in crime, Toddley. What's
Hello, people. Can I just point out that I just did 50 push-ups because of Sober October, or the after Sober October. What were they calling that?
Post?
The post. The recap.
Yeah.
But I just want to point out that your host, Adam, over here, didn't even attempt one push-up. So,
Yeah, sure.
I'm a little winded still, a little shaky.
Doing great, though. I mean, good effort. So we got Duncan Trussel, and Sober October crew.
Yep, we got
Ari, Bert, and Tom, who left a bit early. God bless him.
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes early, 20.
No, wasn't bad. And then Will Harris, fascinating guy.
That was my fave of the week,
Yeah.
which is tough going up against all the legends we listen to.
Yeah, but let's start with Duncan. He was on form.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. How much fun were those two having? Number one, Halloween costumes. Love that.
It was a little dark in there, you know, if you were actually watching it, kind of hard to see what was going on,
Yeah, true.
but fun.
But deal with it also.
Maybe we
they had candles.
We should turn the lights down in here, put some candles on. Play some Al Green, I don't know.
I loved it. I loved
Yeah,
that.
what do you got for old the Duncan?
Well, I mean, concerns about Twitter, Homeland Security getting involved, FBI giving them some pressure on free speech. What? I mean, maybe the government just can't figure out what this stuff is. That's why they have to talk to Zuckerberg and, get on Facebook and Instagram, and maybe they're just too concerned about this shit wrecking the elections. But also, what, is this why these billionaires want to get into the space?
Could be. I mean, obviously, our boy Elon was pretty tight with the last administration, wasn't he? Or was it with Trump administration? They had him on some sort of team.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I know that he wasn't on the Biden one for EV cars. And they went with GM, right, in the Humvee.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, that thing looks dope. But how do you not go with Biden? I mean, with Elon when it comes to electric vehicles?
Too controversial. Maybe, they're scared of him coming out and saying something maybe he shouldn't because he doesn't care.
Yeah, but isn't that disingenuous in the sense of just like...
Oh, I'm sorry. Is our government genuine, ingenuous?
Good point.
Generous? One of those words. Whatever the opposite of disingenuous is.
Yeah. We're not going to edit any of that out. We'll get there. But it does beg the question, right? It's like this guy has led the way in EV vehicles, right? He made his technology open source. And when the government's like, right, we're just going to talk about EV vehicles and get like a summit together, and they don't invite him, that doesn't sit well.
Well, the beautiful thing is he can run Twitter however he wants it, and I think they're nervous. They're scared of the guy. I think Zuckerberg will do anything for a buck, right? He will. I don't trust him. Which, by the way, on the way to...
Do you think he's malleable? Like he would just go with the tides like
Zuckerberg?
a politician? Yeah.
Absolutely. He's a fucking nerd. I mean, so is Elon, but Elon's always gone his own way, regardless of the status quo. I don't feel like Zuckerberg has ever done that. Zuckerberg has done whatever is good for Zuckerberg. Right or wrong? No?
No, I believe it. But couldn't you also say that Elon also did what was right for him? He just happened to be maybe playing chess at a different level. So it's not like Elon went out and did things for himself that were bad for him.
No, but I don't think Elon cares what other people think, whereas Zuckerberg is very... I mean,
He's
the
more
whole
nervous.
Facebook platform was started on how people think of me.
Yeah.
He's just... Elon's a nerd who doesn't care. I feel like Zuckerberg is a nerd who cares about a lot. He might just not admit it.
Right.
But that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, the Homeland Security comment, Joe said he got a text from Tim Pool that morning to say, this is what Homeland Security is trying to do. And doesn't that guy run Apple?
Tim Pool, yeah, he's the what is it, CEO now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was just a sideline. They didn't even make a big deal about it. How many super powerful people are just randomly texting Rogan? Right? So Tim Pool hasn't been on. Rogan's never talked about knowing him, which is reasonable. He doesn't have to tell us everything he's doing. But also, this guy just texted him to be like, oh, yeah, Homeland Security is doing this. That's a thing.
That's sweet he did that. Love that.
But, do we need to step into a new realm of, the power of what, the access that Rogan has? That seems unusual, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's awesome that the powers at be are concerned about what Rogan's saying, which is sweet because, he's got a lot of sway when it comes to people's opinions on things. And his opinion is, doesn't favor what our government's doing most of the time, if you think about it.
Well, he likes to question stuff. And it isn't, even if you had a really good government, across the board in every way, and I'm not saying we don't, but maybe we don't, but regardless of who's in, it just knowing that people are reaching out to somebody that speaks freely, trust him, and they know that he can say kind of the things that they can't.
Right.
He has the freedom to do it. It's a really good checks and balance in a sense.
Yeah, because he's not going to get fired from Spotify for saying whatever he wants, most likely.
Maybe. How far can he push Spotify, though? How far do you think he could?
I mean, I think
Not
he's
that he
done
would.
well.
Yeah, he's done well.
Just saying whatever he wants, really. He hasn't, there's some things that probably wouldn't get said if it wasn't on Spotify, right? They would get deleted out, and probably the episodes would be an hour and a half long as opposed to 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of Rogan.
Yeah.
Is you hear it all.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the press secretary. So
Bless her. Just kidding.
she doesn't have an easy job.
Worst job in the world.
Gotta be the worst.
Yeah.
Why do you think people do that job?
I don't know. I mean, what's
Is it
her name?
Is it a good thing to put on your resume?
Was it Huckabee? Huckabee just won today as the governor of Arkansas. Sarah Huckabee. She used to be the press secretary. I couldn't stand that lady.
Who was she under? Trump?
Trump, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She was, in my mind, just, to me, these people they're performers, right? And they're just lying through their teeth the entire time and just deflecting all these questions.
But do you think that she was worse than who is now?
Huckabee?
Yeah.
I think so.
Really? Okay.
Look, they're pretty much the same person, I guess.
Well, it's the same job.
Yeah.
But are they the same person?
Meaning same person, I meant they're the same type of person that can just easily lie to pretty much every question that's given to them. I think Huckabee was a worse actress, and maybe this newer gal, I don't know her name, the woman's name, but she seems to be a better actress.
Okay.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah. Oh, no. Even though she worked for Trump, I liked her better than the person we have
You
now.
like Huckabee better?
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt like she said kind of fuck you more. And the one now, dude, the one now. Have you watched much of the one now?
Clearly
Lesser?
not enough.
Dude, she's like, I don't know. Maybe I just like that Huckabee kind of gave it back. And maybe that was just the directive of what the press secretary should be. But the one now is hard to follow. Right?
Dude, I look at it this way. We're talking about somebody who really, in the scheme of things, doesn't mean shit. All they're doing is deflecting questions that are important and not giving real answers. And really, it's like this nice facade to the American people. It's basically a fuck you to the American people.
Yeah, you're right.
Because that's all it is.
You're
that
right.
job is a fuck you to the American people because we're not getting real answers. And it's just a way for our presidents and the higher ups in our government to not have to answer real questions.
Yeah, I need to take a step back.
So
you're right.
And people just talk about it all the time. Like, did you hear this press secretary lady? It's like, yeah, that's not what we should be talking about right now.
Yeah, because who are they?
It's fake.
Right?
They're just these fake people that answer real questions in a fake way.
Do you think they go into those meetings? And I was thinking about it. Like, imagine going into those meetings.
Dude.
And then the president is and the whole team is like, right, this is the agenda we're pushing. And you're just like, this sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, they know it is.
And then you get up on the podium and you're like, all right, number one, this is what they're trying to push. But also, I think this is bullshit. I feel like in a sense, what that job would have been in prehistoric times, well, like medieval times, is a jester.
Yeah, it's a joker.
The court jester.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But now they're not funny.
Yeah.
And we've lost something important, right? It's almost like I would throw it out to Elon with all his power, and he's very funny on Twitter and other things. Like he throws his comments out. He makes a lot of press for himself for free. Imagine if he had his own press secretary. And that press secretary was able to be like, yeah, well, this is what Elon was mostly trying to persuade us of in the meeting. But also, some of that's dumb and bullshit. And this is what I really think. Yet he has a contract with this person and can never fire him.
That would be great.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
Let's bring back that jester. Let's bring back the court jester.
Yeah.
If anyone could do it, Elon could.
Yeah, more pregnant man emojis that look like Bill Gates, please, right now.
He could just do it.
Oh, man. I mean, moving on from that, it's a shitty job. It is just, in my mind, it's just lies upon lies deflected in a way that nothing really gets answered. And I think it brings to the point where Duncan was talking about having, this collective consciousness. It's almost like it's part of our collective consciousness, kind of what he was talking about. The people we elect and the things we talk about are part of our collective consciousness, and our collective consciousness in this country is fucked. And we just don't seem to care anymore. So we don't care so much that, and again, this is my opinion, but I resonated with this when Trussel's talking about it, and they're laughing about it, but it's kind of a silly, crazy thing to laugh about because it's so true that if we don't care that these questions are getting deflected and we don't care the answers that come out of her mouth, and all we care about is like bitching about them being answered incorrectly, or if we really just don't care to know the real answer, that is a collective consciousness problem.
Yeah.
And if we want to walk around malls, to bring it to his other point where we just want to walk around malls with AR goggles on all the time, which is going to happen, here we go. Everyone's just be living in their own reality, and I don't know, man. It's crazy to think about.
Do you think that this is more of a question of people don't want to stop and face like the problems and the controversies that they face?
I mean, the writing's on the wall, dude. Voting day was yesterday, and granted, we live in an extremely small, I mean, it's a huge state, but a small population. I think 200,000 or 250,000 people voted in Montana yesterday. That's nothing. It's like a small metropolitan area of Detroit voted for an entire state that's bigger than like 17 states.
It's like 3 times the size of England.
Right. But so to your point, what was the question?
Well, are people not facing their own reality?
Absolutely
right?
not. If they can't wake their ass up and go vote, and they have one day to do it, and they don't even care to go do that, but yet they're going to bitch all day long about something, whether it has to do with politics or not. They're just going to bitch and bitch and bitch, but they can't even just go vote. I mean, it's a very simple thing. So yeah, I don't think people care.
Here's the thing that like when Rogan and Duncan, other people bring up mushrooms, which plenty of people are scared of, right?
Yeah.
They're scared of hallucinogens, scared of doing them. I get it. There could be issues there. If you have schizophrenia in your family, maybe stay away. However, you can put yourself in your own echo chambers, for sure. We don't really have one in the studio, and it bugs you. Yeah, because I like to annoy you when you get all political.
Yeah.
And I'm mostly just playing devil's advocate. I agree with you a lot of the time, but it's not an echo chamber in here. We like to fuck with each other on that.
Yeah, well, that's
right?
a good thing, though.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then when you do shrooms, right, in a controlled way, at an appropriate age, I mean, that's my disclaimer.
Nice.
But, which I do believe in too, right? You don't want to be doing it at like 8 years old. That's a bad time.
Definitely not.
Right? Wait till you're an adult and then get your time. Do it with the right people, right influences around. Yeah. It's going to tell you some things in reality that you can't get away from. You can live in your own bubble on social media and with your friends and only hanging out with people that only agree with you, that you get worked up about, and then you get all self-righteous. But you do it in that controlled realm, it's going to tell you some things that are important. And they talk about this. Duncan does it. Joe does it about politicians, about if only they could do this.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Do you think so, though?
I do.
I mean, or is that just a silly argument that they make? I kind of believe that it could be good, but hey, there's a reason it doesn't happen also.
Yeah, but as someone who has taken hallucinogens quite a bit, every single time I've done them, I feel more connected to nature. And just that alone to me would help this entire planet so much. On a human connection, I mean, I've never walked away from a mushroom trip and not felt more connected to everyone around me, everything around me, whether it's human or a plant or a chair. I've felt very connected to chairs, pots and pans, all of those things. I want to hug them. I want to...
Because mostly you're sat in a chair the whole time. But
you know what I'm saying, man. You couldn't... And granted, like you said, there's a disclaimer there. It's not right for everybody. But if most people who do not have some sort of pre-existing mental condition and had some sort of controlled environment or a friend who has done it before that could do it with them to make sure they don't do something stupid and walk in front of a fucking crowded freeway or something dumb or jumped off a building, which is, I think, people who haven't done it before think that those things might happen, like they think they could fly, or which isn't true unless you take way too many mushrooms. You know what I'm saying, though?
I
If
think
you just take a little bit, start a little bit here, a little bit there, you're going to feel more connected to the entire planet, which in turn makes you feel more connected to people. And also, you're going to have a lot of fun. You might smoke maybe one too many ciggies or whatever, but it's one night. Just stay away from mirrors, get out in nature, make sure to bring a blanket if it's cold out, because you won't know it's cold out. You're going to think it's fucking 80 degrees, even though it's 20 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Play some music. Like, there's so many things I think that, yes.
Well, good advice about how to do mushrooms, for sure.
But you don't think that would be beneficial to humankind if more people did hallucinogens in a controlled environment?
I assume maybe, yeah. But I also hear them talk about it, like, kind of flippantly. Like, oh, politicians should do this. And I wonder. I'm like, is that just a joke? Or is this really a possible solution? I think similar on the lines of this is when Duncan was talking about that AI stuff, where it's like open source, everyone can add to it. It creates this like new art or programs or just imagery. And I feel like there's something beautiful there happening, right?
Yeah, and super trippy too, because this environment is changing as you walk through it.
You're a creative guy, right? And I would be interested to see what you thought about what they're doing on that space. Because, I mean, there's like whole sites now where you just write in what you want. Yeah. You could write in anything. Bomb Snow, magazine, shout out. Also, anything. Elon Musk, Twitter, and it creates an image from, I don't know how it does it.
Yeah, I've done it. But that's just it's not a 3D image, right? It's not like a VR. It's not a virtual reality image. It's more of a AI image that you type into the computer. Is that what you're talking about?
Like a blurry
smudge.
Yeah. But it's getting better. That's the thing.
Well, yeah.
And what does that mean?
Well, and what Duncan's saying...
Could it like one day just write whole shows?
Probably.
Like, what's the limit?
I don't see why not.
That's pretty cool.
It's super cool, man. And again, it's one of those things, if we're going to bring it back to, doing things in moderation, which you should, do that with drugs. You should do that with so many things, with eating shit food and also with VR goggles, in my mind. I think they're great. I'd be super down to check those things out. I've only fucked around with VR goggles a few times and it was cool. Super cool. Do I want those on my head all the time? No, but plenty of people would, and that's a scary thought. But also, like, they thought the printing press was going to ruin the world. They thought radio was going to ruin the world. So
that's true.
We're going to be fine.
I mean, you mostly only borrowed mine and watched VR porn.
Yeah, and it was too intense. No, it was too intense.
Yeah.
But it's super funny and
it was fun.
Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. I don't know what I made
sound
of
like
it
an old
either,
man saying all these things in moderation.
Are an old man.
Yeah, I guess I am. I'm in my 40s, But I think, vegetable oils are way worse for you than mushrooms. So there you go. There's my old man speak right there.
What about all the opioid addiction shit?
Yeah, that's another one for me. It's a problem with doctors. It's a problem. I feel like I'm being too serious right now, dude. These are serious topics.
But like, just answer. Well, just answer them how you want to. But don't be a nerd about it.
Well, what I'll say is, all of these things should be legal.
Bro, real quick, we're not the fucking authority on this shit.
Right.
Okay, we're just like the conversation. Like, I hear it, and then I'm like, what do I think about it?
Okay, I'll tell you what I think about it. They are giving these things out like candy. Doctors are basically getting paid to hand these drugs out, and it's the same thing that they talked about. I can't remember his name. It was the guy, he was on a few weeks ago. Oh, God, what the heck was his name? He used to be a medical salesman. He was selling dick pills for a while, and then he started selling opioids, and now he wrote a whole book on it. He was on Rogan like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, shit.
And he was talking about they brought up the Sackler family. This family that anytime a drug is about to come up, like to a certain point, like within a year, we're going to take this drug off the market, and then they would find a way to basically do no more human trials, but say that it's also good for this particular issue, right? Like all of a sudden, not only are opioids good for back pain, but they're also good for ADHD, and that's a horrible example, but you see what I'm saying. They would come up with these papers, which are total bullshit. Kind of the same thing that happened with the with that guy who wrote all those falsities about Alzheimer's, and it's just now coming out that the fucking guy lied the entire time, and there's all these papers and evidence of him skewing the results, and people have been on these drugs. That's the problem with these drugs in the opioid pandemic, is that they're continually allowing, the insurance companies are continually allowing these things to have zero human trials on people, and they're just like reinventing themselves as this new drug, but it's the same thing for a separate problem. So in my mind, it's like make everything legal and make them really hard to get, unless you have a serious problem that you need this drug for.
Yeah, but then
I don't know how you do that.
Who decides?
I don't know.
You're just bringing it back to the government.
No. What I'm bringing it back to is
somebody has to decide that.
Okay, so let me change my thought on this then.
Okay.
Stop making it so easy for hospitals and HMOs and insurance companies and people who are selling these drugs, who are getting $17,000 a month to take people out for steak dinner in order to sell a doctor a drug. Stop that. So stop being able to make billions of dollars off drugs, and then maybe there wouldn't be such a problem.
Yeah, but weren't you complaining earlier today that you couldn't get enough Adderall for your ADHD? Wouldn't that be along the same line? Does that make your complaint less valid?
Well, yes and no, because the reason I couldn't get it is because I went in after I was already out of my prescription, because I have ADHD. So I forgot to call, and then I forgot to call. Had I called 2 weeks ago, the fucking pills would have been there and would have been fine. That was my bad.
Oh,
but so also there is a shortage. There is also a shortage. But had I been like, hey man, a week from now I'm going to be out of pills, then they would have been ready. Instead, I went there after I was out of pills, and then 5 days later I get my pills, which sucks because I didn't have Ritalin for 5 days. And I need that shit.
You need it.
I need it.
You do.
But I think it has a lot to do with money, man. And look, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but when it comes down to these companies are making an absurd amount of money. And if they weren't making that much money, they wouldn't keep changing the ways they're being sold to people to make more money.
And also people are dying from that.
I mean, it's the same reason why I think a flat tax is fair. It's like, okay, every drug should cost the fucking same. Boom.
You know, in England...
How would that save it? Every drug costs the same.
Hold this.
Just saying.
I'm pretty sure in England, all prescriptions cost the same.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
I
mean, that's socialized medicine, and there's a lot of...
I mean, there's a lot of differences there, and I'm not trying to push it, but also, I remember when I lived there, it was like £6.25, like $10 back then.
Yeah.
Even if you just needed, like, you know, ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And then I was like, really? I can just buy this at the pharmacy for that much. And they were like, well, that's just how it is for prescriptions, but this is what all the drugs cost. And that seemed like pretty good.
So what you're saying is they basically take a median price after they round out all of the drug costs, and then it's like a median price for everything, no matter what it is.
Yeah, so
seems like a great idea.
Well, the only concern to me is how much drugs cost to research and make, and then if you can only sell them for the same amount, is there the same motivation? You know, for like economically for you to like push to make it.
or the
But it
same
seems to
motivation
work.
for doing human trials, because that seems to me like the problem here is in order to get the drugs, through the FDA and through that process, it seems to me like they're just kind of pushing it forward, just like they did with the vaccines without enough human trials. And it's like they're pushing it through. They're pushing it through. And if there wasn't a bunch of money to be made, that probably wouldn't happen. I mean, you bring up a good example with England, which I know nothing about their healthcare system, but is there an opioid epidemic there? I don't know. Like, where are the countries where there's no opioid epidemic? Everywhere but the United States, probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the country where it's a problem. And that dude that was on Rogan, I'm pissed I can't remember his name, but he was saying the reason the opioid epidemic happened is because they kept giving it for different issues. Doctors were like getting paid more money to give out this drug.
That's bad. That's bad.
So all comes down to money, motherfuckers.
Oh.
Kinda.
Yeah.
No?
You're right. No, it does. It does. That's a lot.
I'm going to find this guy's name.
All right. Figure it out. Let's jump over to Sober October and lighten this bitch up. Well, it's one of those things, though, right? It's like you have to talk about it. Duncan brings it. It's heavy. And then also, you can be sober for an entire month. Try it out. Who does that? We didn't do it.
I haven't done it since I started drinking at like 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
You haven't done a whole
full
month?
Nope.
Oh, Todd, I'm feeling a challenge coming on.
Not since I've had my first beer, Holmes.
I'm feeling a challenge more than your push-ups. What do you think? What could you do?
Look at, man, no, I'm not doing it because this is why. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I don't have a drinking problem anymore. I had one in college.
All right.
I like to relax. I don't need to Bert Kreischer this shit, but I enjoy relaxing. I enjoy my 2 to 4 alcoholic drinks per day.
You don't drink a lot.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You're a very responsible drinker. For
dude,
a person that also likes to have, a few a day.
Have I always been that way? Hell no. I used to black out like every other day in college. Not kidding.
Really?
Oh, dude. For 4 years straight, I was blacked out like every other day. It's horrible. And then I got married, and that really what happened was I had a kid, right? When you have a child, and this goes to all the fathers out there and mothers, you cannot be hungover. It is the worst thing. I wish we had a line where people could call us right now. We could talk to them about it, because tell me something worse than being extremely hungover and dealing with a crying child that has a shitty diaper. There is no worse thing in life that I've experienced, other than maybe missing a plane flight on your way home for Christmas for your mom, and you're super hungover too, and she's crying on the phone at you. That also sucks, being on a plane super hungover. But imagine being on a plane super hungover with a fucking crying 2-year-old, dude. Worst thing ever.
Well, based on what you just said, do you think that the child for you was like, there was nothing else that would have scented you to do that?
I don't know, because I didn't stop. I mean, when I got married, my wife and I stopped drinking as much, but we would still go out and get blottoed on the weekends. We don't do that anymore.
Okay.
I think if we didn't have a 2-year-old, we would probably go get fucked up more on the weekends. It
sounds like kids have definitely helped ground you.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But also because being hungover around a 2-year-old is horrible.
Yeah.
And it's not even the guilt. It's not a guilt thing. It's more of just like,
efficiency.
Why did I do this to myself? This is so not worth it. It just it makes me not enjoy being around my kid, and I love being around my kid.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it was absolutely the thing that helped a ton.
Well, I think Bert's talked about that a lot. Period. Right. So coming back to Sober October, like Bert does it. I mean, Tom left in the pod
to go see his kid. Yeah, good man.
And they didn't know this for sure before that, right? There's like a change there. The interesting thing with Bert is I don't know. I feel like he has two pressures. One, be there for the family and like spend time with them and do it. But also he has this new momentum where he makes a shitload of money being on the road. And I think Ari made the joke about him making like $400,000 a show. Well, like somebody slipped something. And I don't know if it's like accurate or whatever, but if you add up ticket sales, you know, when they're selling out like 20,000 place arenas and those tickets are like $60 a piece, that's a lot of money.
What is that, 1.2 million? Right?
Well, you got to think that, let's do some math here. You got to think that the ticket companies are taking something, right? And
yeah, 1.2 million. Look at that. I didn't even need a fucking calculator, boss.
You fucking genius.
No, they were talking about it because they said the president of the United States only makes $400K a year.
Exactly. So let's say it was just $400,000, right? And then Bert's on $10 million a year, right?
Yeah.
So then he has this, and he made this movie, which also
looks great.
The trailer is amazing. I'm going to put a link in the bio for that, for sure. But he's like in a space where, you know, he is like feels this pressure to work, you know? And I think in time, he might be like, all right, family's more important. He might do a bit of a Tom thing, go home, but he's all about work. Seems like Rogan has more balance.
Yeah.
And then Ari has no family, so he's just doing whatever the hell he does.
Yeah.
Peeing in the hallway.
Look, to me, I just feel like Bert still doesn't give a fuck, and he's trying to find that line. I mean, he looked at Joe and he goes, dude, I don't know. What should I do? What should I do? It's like, what you need to do, in my mind, Bert, is fucking own up to your shit and figure out what works best for you. And if you don't want to die of a fucking stroke, then yeah, you probably shouldn't drink every night and go fucking that hard, even though somehow the machine that he is, I mean, he didn't get the nickname The Machine for no fucking reason.
Dude.
He can crush, and he did what he just did, like 50 push-ups too.
Yeah, but this is also
Ari
why
couldn't even do 10.
No, but let's not forget, right? When people want to be hard on Bert, you got to give him a fucking minute, because he has a movie now called The Machine.
Yeah,
he has one of the greatest repeatable stand-up sets of all time.
Incredible.
Called The Machine. And you want to slow the machine down? Let's just think about the metaphor here. It's a machine. It's a thing that is not biological, that just runs on its own. I mean,
yeah,
right there.
He'll figure it out, man. I mean, look, he went a whole month without drinking at all. He felt great, and then I feel,
dude, his Whoop stats were through the roof.
But it sounds to me like he is taking it a little bit more easy. He's still getting after it when he needs to, but I don't feel like it's not like he's getting blottoed every night like he used to.
Well, he said tequila helps.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, all I can say is, look, he's disciplined in so many ways.
Right.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. Hopefully it doesn't take, a stroke or a heart attack for him to figure it out. But like you said, his whoops were like on point, dude.
Yeah.
His fucking heart rate was like money after that. And,
well,
he never answered the question, though. Remember that? He never answered the question.
What was the question?
Rogan said, would you quit drinking to have to take heart medicine anymore? And he never answered it. They ended up skirting off on another question or something else.
To him, that's a tough question.
He didn't answer it.
Yeah.
Because he's still on heart meds for his high blood pressure when he's drinking.
But here's what's important. You can't say Bert doesn't know. He knows how to do it, right? So there are people that are bigger, overweight, struggle, whatever, and then they end up either dying or just having something. Bert has had multiple examples of how to do this. So really, it's up to him now.
Yeah.
He has all the tools, for sure. He has all the tools. What about the rowing the Atlantic shit they were talking about? Dude.
I mean, I would love to see it, but no fucking way.
Yeah, no chance.
No way.
But also, how fucking hilarious was that Tom said to Ari, oh, you had to bring this up to Dum Dum, and then you knew he would jump on board. And I love Bert so much for how excited he gets about things.
Yeah.
We know this.
Yeah.
In our stew, we love to do this. In the studio, we like to get excited about things that don't even make any sense. But, you jump on board. He was so behind it, and he wouldn't stop. Brilliant.
He's a good dude, and I hope all their shit talking to Garth Brooks brings him on to Rogan as well. And what'd you think about Bert rewriting? I liked when he talked about him rewriting a bunch of shit for the script for The Machine for his new movie, and just when he was on one and they were telling him like, hey man, just kind of write whatever you want, mix it up, and he just went after it and just wrote a bunch of shit, added a bunch of wild, funny stuff. I mean, that puke scene was not in the first script for that trailer.
Dude,
There's no way. No way.
Dude, that wouldn't be in any movie ever.
It's so good.
I've never even seen anything like that. That he put it in his pocket. But if you think about it, he's done that bit for so long that he's probably, in a sense, always thinking of bits you could add. And now, because of the movie, I think that what makes the Machine bit so good and why it's so usable is that it was basically the truth. He just told the story.
Yeah, he's not making it up.
But now he gets to make a movie, and a movie is something else. He gets to kind of add his own element to it, almost. And that's what he did.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Dude, when is that shit out?
I don't know, but I'm excited to watch that Tim Dillon special on his little cooking thing. What's the cooking YouTube channel? I didn't realize Bert was doing that.
Dude.
I didn't know he had that show until today.
So good. Whitney Cummings.
Oh, that's right. Whitney's on it. And Dylan,
that's so good.
Dylan's the man. I will. Let's end this on also a good note. I loved at the end. I mean, look, they're friends of Bert's. They're trying to get him to stop drinking. Love that about their friendship, how they can be so open about that while speaking on the most popular podcast in the world. But also at the end where they just said, don't shit talk your friends, man. Don't shit talk your friends. Unless you're going to be shit talking them in front of their face. Like, just,
Oh, dude, that's
just
good.
Stop. It's such good moves because
I could hear that. I think I do that too much.
We all
sometimes.
do it. We all do it.
And I don't mean to. I really don't. I feel like sometimes when I do it, I'm like trying to figure out a way to make it beneficial, but it's never good. It's never fucking good, dude.
It's just, it was a good takeaway at the end there because it was super goofy all the way through. And at the end, they got real serious about just not shit talking your friends. And that resonated with me, man, because I've been trying to not do that. And I'm not the type of person to shit talk my friends.
No, you're not.
But we all do it.
It's good to have that like thing to think about.
I feel like I'm always the guy. If somebody's shit talking a friend, I will actually interject.
You do.
I'm that guy.
You tell me to shut up a lot of times.
Like, man, that's not true. Or if it is true, why don't you tell them? Like, call them up right now and fucking talk about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would want, right? Like if somebody's shit talking me, I want to know, because if I knew, I would probably change the behavior. And it's happened here before. We talk about the stew. We're all friends here at our studio. There's been shit in the past where I know things have been festering.
Yeah.
And then it comes to a head and we fucking fight about it and then we're fucking like screaming at each other. This hasn't happened really with you or I, but it's happened with other people in the studio. And then 2 seconds later, we're hugging it out and fucking having a beer.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes you need that. But I feel like if we were just a little bit more upfront to begin with, it would be a little bit more smooth. there wouldn't be a blow up. I mean, I've had times where I feel like shit all day because of something that was said to me that I knew was true, but had I heard it like in prior arguments or just in talking, it probably would have never hit that point. It's kind of like when you get into a fight with your wife or anyone really you're close with, right?
Todd,
family member.
I'm going to tell you this now.
Just saying.
Like, you're very good at that, right? And I sit here sometimes and I go on rants because I get annoyed at things and like running the show and other shit. And you are very good at bringing me back to a place where I have to be like, fuck. I said some dick shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect that from all of us, and I think people just don't say it enough. You know, people don't interject enough when people are talking shit.
But the sober group, you know it.
Yeah,
you know those four know each other really well. They call each other out all the time. There were jokes about Rogan being short from Ari, which were hilarious. Like, they're all giving each other a hard time, and like that check with them, it's special. But it's like a comedy world. I feel like also you can't hold yourself to that standard, kind of, because in a sense they're professionals at giving people shit.
Yeah. True.
All right, let's jump over to Will Harris.
The man, dude.
Dude, I feel like we're going late today, but also this one's important.
I have so many notes on this one, but I listened intently to this one because
number one. Can we just like?
I'm not even going to look at my notes. Is what I was going to say, Adam. I'm not even going to look at them.
All right. Can we take a second just to say how great was the way that he said things? I mean, unless you have a prejudice to like Southern talk, the way you're like, oh, that's all racist, which is reasonable. I mean, I guess someone could think that. But it was like, it's like the cutest Southern way of speaking ever.
Right.
And it was like he could read any book to me and I'd be into it.
Very true. Unless he was talking about, you know, how the South didn't win the Civil War.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
How slavery should still be a fucking thing. Then I would fucking hate his voice.
I take it back. But if he was just telling a beautiful story, it's just dreaming.
Yeah, if he's reading a children's book about, you know, that's not about the KKK, yes, absolutely.
Or if he's telling you about things that are environmentally positive.
That's why you like him.
That combination was perfect.
Yeah. And what a fucking G for taking his family farm and for going this direction that everyone needs to go in.
Dude, think of the things that we worry about. You make a magazine, multiple magazines, and you're
bombsnow.com.
Right, love that. Great magazine. You're like sat here thinking about streamlining, making money, sales, like what pushes it. If all of a sudden you had to make a change, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like the paper that you used didn't work. It was environmentally fucked up. And then also there were some other processes in your whole setup that didn't work. And it was going to take you down 30%. That is a fucking brave move.
Yeah. I mean, it's a move from the heart, right? And yeah, making, you know, this is different than making magazines, but to a similar point.
Oh, yeah, way different.
None of it is good. Well, that's not true. It's not good for the environment, but the way he's doing it is not bad for the environment. It's kind of like it's sequestering all this carbon. And we'll get to this because he talks about it a lot near the end, where like technology is not going to save us from the issues that we're having with the environment and carbon.
Right.
But changing agricultural practices in this linear way, which he kept talking about, this linear way of like more pesticides, more herbicides. All of these things are it's a system that only works for so long. And I think we're just finally realizing after the Industrial Revolution how fucked we are from the systems we've been doing. And I think I just want to make this one point because it was the biggest point that was made, is that it will not change until we change our way of buying things. So until we always buy the grass-fed meat instead in the family farmed meat that's sustainable and it's on a family farm that's organic, that is using grass-fed beef and open pastures and regenerative farming, until the consumers start purchasing that stuff, it will not change. And that was a huge point.
And I love that too. But realistically, right, think of the people listening and also think of you.
Yeah.
How often do you not buy that type of food?
I would say I'm like 60-40.
Yeah.
Yeah. I buy a lot of grass-fed beef.
But it's still not great, like...
I'm not going to lie, dude. I ate a steak yesterday and a steak the day before, and those were not grass-fed, and they were $4.30 for an 8-ounce
good deal
New York strip, and
it's hard to do.
But
and then
look,
you think of it like inner city people.
I get
that
it.
Aren't making the money, that are just trying to keep their families going. Like, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. But how fucked was that when you saw the water running from his farm, and it was crystal clear, and you saw the drone footage of his farm and then his neighbor's farm. His neighbor's farm was fucking dirt, just like tractored over 1,000 times, and his farm was just grass. And did you see that?
Yeah.
And then you see the
dude, it was wild.
Water running off.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense.
It looked like poop.
It's one of those things that until we talk about it more, that it won't change. It reminds me a lot of organic farming when it comes to all the organic produce you see nowadays. People understand that they don't want chemicals on their vegetables.
Right.
People are just now starting to understand that they don't want hormones and injections in their meat.
But
they don't want they don't want fucking corn-fed beef anymore.
This is why Rogan really made a decision to himself to be like, all right, I'm either going to go vegan and vegetarian because I can't stand this factory farming. And then he went, meat eater hunting,
and bless Rogan for that.
Yeah, but for a lot of people, it's difficult to take. But also...
Why is that difficult to take?
I don't know.
Because he eats meat?
Well, but
what do you mean?
Dude, I grew up vegetarian. My dad wouldn't like this. My family doesn't like hunting. A lot of British people don't. And, they have their right to believe that too. Also, he was just faced with a dilemma here. And I feel like he, sought out enough information to make his own choice and then went, no, this isn't going to work. Like, I have to choose a path that makes sense here for me. But, he's not buying any, factory farm. Well, I say that. Sometimes he says
until he goes to In-N-Out Burger with no bun.
Well, I don't know where In-N-Out Burger gets their shit, but he does say he does like the fish fillet.
Yeah.
That shit is not... I guess you don't factory farm that, but I'm sure McDonald's are not grabbing fish fillet in a economical way.
I tell you what, boyo, we've got 30 pounds of Alaskan sockeye salmon coming to the stew in the next couple weeks from our boy Robert Raymond, who's a fisherman.
Love that.
And that's a whole nother subject. But speaking of farmed fish, it's horrible. It's not a good thing.
But I wonder, my question is, let's say you live in an inner city, you don't have a lot of extra money. How if you wanted to be really ethical with your eating, how ethical could you be?
Yeah.
And if you can't be, which probably is how it is, what can you do? Like, how far can you go with it? How clean of eggs can you buy? How, like grass-fed, sourced could your meat be? And if not, like, what do you do? If you're hearing Rogan talk and you're just like, yeah, I agree with this, where do you go with that if you can't afford it?
Yeah, I don't know the solution there. It's definitely a first world problem, but it's a huge, huge, huge problem. And until we figure it out, like, the soil's going to keep depleting. I mean, the soil thing is such a huge problem. I mean, they're just depleting all of the nutrients off the soil. And you saw that farm, dude, what I was just saying with the drone footage, all of that topsoil. That's why that shit was so muddy and brown, right? Because it's just, it has nowhere to sit.
Isn't it amazing?
It just goes right into the fucking water table.
That nitrogen fertilizer, like, had, 60 years, 80 years? No, where are we? From the war? Like...
Since World War I or II?
Two.
Yeah.
So 1945
yeah.
to now.
That's 55
years.
No, that's 80 years.
All right.
Yeah.
You're correct. So that many years of, like, working on the soil, like, to be fair, when they started, you're like, that's a long time. We'll figure out something else. Well, we haven't, and we're getting close to it ending. And then they have the monocrop agriculture. So his stuff makes sense. It works, right? The way he does it, he can continue it. But there are farms that only do cotton, only do corn. And that is, how do you break that? And he didn't really have an answer.
No, I mean, there's not really an answer unless I hate to say the answer is the government, but they have to subsidize some of this stuff. I mean, like you said, the people who are farming...
Dude, they're already subsidizing a lot of farming.
Right.
For sure.
And the people who are farming are not the bad guys. It's not their fault that this is the way of... This linear way of farming is the way of the world. And look, man, it's not like we knew this inherently, that this was evil to begin with, but we're starting to realize that it's not sustainable. So it has to change. I mean, it absolutely has to change. If you're someone who believes in climate change and believes in not only that, but just being humane to animals, like the cycle can be circular, right? It can be. I mean, he's absolute living proof that the cycle can be circular and we can do this the right way. And I think, and Rogan talks about this a lot, can we feed the 8 billion people on planet Earth like this? Absolutely. But everyone would have to do it. Like they say, like becoming a vegan is not the answer. There's nothing wrong with veganism. And I liked how he pointed that out. He's like, I got nothing against veganism. What I have against is these, what did he call them? What the heck did he say? Just people who are vegans who basically say you need to do this and you need to eat this way, right? These like maniacal vegans who are like saying that I'm not allowed to eat a fucking cow if the world depends on it because you're fucking up the planet. Well, I loved his answer. He said animals are not what's fucking up the planet. It's the way we're farming. That's what's fucking up the planet. So again, man, dude, it comes down to consumerism, the way we purchase our meats. And I look at it as a healthcare issue too. If you're putting meat in your body that's full of hormones, he talked about this a lot. He's like, the same guys that are making the fucking pesticides are the same motherfuckers who are making aspirin, dude. They're making something that's going to kill you, and then they're making this something that's going to make you feel better.
Pay attention to that.
That's the crazy part.
Seems tricky.
And my brother became a vegan because of that. Because of, and granted, he was watching Food Inc. and some of these other things that are skewed, but also fucked up, and they're compelling. And I watched Food Inc. and I didn't eat meat for a month or so. But if you're eating meat from Will Harris's farm, it's not full of antibiotics and it's not full of shit that's going to send you to the hospital. It's not full of fat. The problem is that most people, I would say most people on this planet, do not realize that cows are not supposed to eat corn, and that's fucked. So it really comes down, in my mind, to education, dude. It's like, what are you putting in your body? If you're putting in grass-fed beef, that's what cows are supposed to fucking eat. They eat grass. That's what they're supposed to eat. Well, and guess what? Grass captures fucking carbon, people.
Yeah, but I didn't even know for a long time.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's just like, it's an educational thing. I just
ate the meat and was like, okay, that's how it comes.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, it's the same thing if you're going to eat if you're going to eat a tomato or a tomato, as you call it, my fine Englishman. Fucking
a potato.
Look, man, have you tried one of my tomatoes out of my garden?
No.
That has 0 pesticides, herbicides, all organic, whatever. It's not toot my own horn here, but if you tried a tomato out of somebody's garden,
your dog definitely pissed on those
versus great, that's organic. You take that over a factory farm tomato that's fucking never ripe that you get for slicing, tomatoes for sandwiches. I mean, it's a whole nother fruit, dude. And tomato's a fruit. Because if you taste a tomato that comes out of an organic farm that's ripe,
sweet.
It tastes sweet. And I mean, dude, my 2-year-old eats those because it tastes good. It tastes like a goddamn strawberry. It's sweet and sugary. And you eat a tomato from a factory farm that was sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, it's like so bland.
Yeah.
But I think of it, it's the same thing with meat.
But, here's what's important. We're not in any special position, and we can still get a hold of that stuff, right? If we think about it and do it, we can. Yeah. Sure, maybe people that live in cities can't grow their own stuff, but they can go to a local farmer's market. Maybe the prices are more. It's just hard to say because like people are stressed. They're working a lot. They've got kids. Like almost the last of their concerns is like the quality of food. They're like trying to feed. But I feel like, I'm not trying to come from a place of like any sort of privilege because I haven't been able to afford it. But I feel like if you made that your priority, you could do it. Like we have enough resources, potentially.
And granted, we live in Montana where it's easy to get grass-fed beef that's like, 3 miles away from the studio. But
we also have like 9 months of winter. So are our fucking vegetables that much cheaper here? Probably not.
No.
They got to be shipped in.
I mean, it's not like Alaska, but no. I look at it this way. A pound of meat coming from these factory-fed farms and, the way you don't want to do it is what? $2.50 for a pound of, I'm talking ground chuck here, baby.
Nice.
$2.50, right? Around that. Grass-fed meat that is what Will Harris is talking about. It's on a free-range, open free-range farm. Costs maybe $7.50. So you're talking a $5 difference. Okay, that is a big difference for a pound of meat.
Yeah,
it's a
right.
$4 to $5 difference.
Yeah, that's make or break.
But look at that in a healthcare perspective. That's the way I look at it. You're going to pay for your health further down the road. He talked about these animals during COVID. His farm, if it was shut down during COVID, all of his animals would have survived. They would have lived
like 20 years.
Right, because it was sustainable. It was the way animals are supposed to be raised. They're grazing on shit that they've ate since they were on this planet. They're just eating the same shit that they were supposed to be eating.
And the other place,
1 year, 2 years,
them.
They'd be dead. They were euthanizing them because they weren't going to last.
Dude, that was scary.
They're sick. They're like diabetic fucking cows, dude. But that's what we're putting into our bodies. So think of it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
I'm not trying to be on some high horse here, but I think if people just again, it's this education. It's like you said, you didn't fucking think about this stuff when you were eating meat. You're just like, oh no, I want to have some protein. But then when Rogan starts talking about killing his own food and this and that, I mean, he has gone out on a limb here to talk about what he feels like is such an important issue, and I love him for that. I love that he brought Will Harris on. I mean, this was a huge step in the right direction of bringing somebody like Will Harris on, because I am so sick of hearing about how eating meat is going to fucking destroy our planet. It's not. It's the farming techniques that are going to destroy our planet. There's nothing wrong with eating meat.
That's what it's starting to seem like.
Yeah, I mean...
And also, let's hope that Amazon, that now owns Whole Foods, doesn't shit on him because he was like, you know what? It's changed in the last few years. Like, God bless this guy and his slow Southern talking that was just wonderful to listen to.
And
I mean...
You know what? I'm going to say one thing. I'm not going to stop drinking, but I'm going to make a pledge to you.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to stop buying the $3.50 steaks. I'm going to start buying the $8 to $10 steaks that are grass-fed.
Should we buy the high quality?
I'm going to buy the high-quality steaks because I eat a lot of fucking meat, and after listening to that, I feel like a hypocrite because I do buy grass-fed chuck. It's like $7 a pound, but I have not bought the $10 8-ounce steak as opposed to the $3.50 8-ounce steak, which I think is important because
let's see
it's
how
important.
Well, what will be good is to see how we do it on a relative budget, and then when it can be like good information. Like, is it possible? Can we do it under this and support this kind of livestock situation, which I would like to see how we go.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this: who do you get your eggs from? Because we didn't really go into the poultry scene here. We've kind of just been talking about cows.
I eat out way too much to
Okay.
even buy eggs.
Have you? Okay, I'll ask two questions then. Have you noticed the difference between organic milk and regular farm factory milk? Have you noticed a difference in flavor?
I don't drink any milk.
Okay, so we'll X that question. I will say that there is a huge difference between organic milk and regular milk.
Okay.
In flavor and taste.
Fair enough.
Also, same thing with eggs. That was my point, is that with eggs, the color is different.
Oh, I've seen good eggs.
Dude.
Yeah, for sure. When I went to Japan, sorry, I didn't live there, but when I went there on vacation and I was there like 4 weeks, those eggs there were just dark.
Oh, dude.
Orange.
It's insane.
It's a whole different game.
I feel that, yeah. And again, it's the same with grass-fed beef as opposed to grain-fed. Everyone says grain-fed tastes better because there's more marble, there's more fat, but that's just what they're used to, man. It's like Heinz ketchup. Everybody fucking loves Heinz ketchup because that's what they're used to, even though all it is fucking sugar with some red coloring in it and some tomato paste. So I'm just going to end it with, if you have the opportunity to spend a couple more bucks on eggs, man, do you notice the difference? And there's just so much healthier for you, dude.
Yeah.
They taste better. It's just good for you.
I'm pretty sure if you don't go to Starbucks for 2 days in a row, you can buy the most expensive eggs and not feel bad.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to eat fucking a dead, dying, fat, obese fucking cow that's pumped full of hormones, or do you want to spend like $4 more and eat a happy cow?
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we're gonna be eating better meat.
All right,
let's do it. Todd, you're a legend. Let's go.
Thanks, buddy.